Welcome to the You Seem Great podcast. I'm Becca, a former therapist and matchmaker turned date coach.
And I'm Talia, a professional matchmaker and founder of a leading matchmaking company. Together, we have helped hundreds of singles find love. We're here to share our expert tips and tricks to help you find and keep love too. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the You Seem Great podcast. Today, we're covering universal truths in dating. Like, these are things that are true for everyone, no matter who you are, what age you are, sexual orientation. They are true for everyone.
I'm going to be honest. When we were preparing this episode, I was thinking back, and I have heard you say these universal truths for, 5-6 years now we've been working together. I have probably only bought into them in the last year.
Really? What
I have
changed?
succumbed.
I was
Evidence.
not convincing, clearly.
Evidence has changed. Well, because I'm like there's no rules. Like, everything is flexible. Everything's a spectrum. Like, I am very against absolutes typically. So when you would say them, I'm like, no. Honestly, you were right all along. Props
You're
to you.
welcome.
I'm sorry it took me so long to see that. I'm willing to
Thank you for
own.
your honesty. I appreciate that.
Yes. But I even thought today, like, should I contest some of these? But then I was like, I can't even.
I mean, to be fair, there are no rules. So
Yes.
like these, like 99%, but of course there are outliers.
Yeah.
These are just things that I've noticed and we've noticed in our 15 years in the industry of pairing people up
Yeah.
that are common themes that you might not think about.
Yeah. And they don't change. They don't change with, politics. They don't change with the economy. They don't change with life circumstances, with age, gender. They don't change. These are consistent through and through. Exactly. So you were right. Whatever. Okay. All right.
Love to hear it.
Let's dive in. So this is the one that maybe I disagreed with the most historically.
Okay.
That now I agree with. Your person is coming in a different package than you expected.
Yes. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
So what I've seen, again, in my experience, is that people think they have like the exact idea of who their person is, what they look like, everything about them. And usually they marry someone a little bit different. So that happens often in matchmaking, that come to us with a certain set of criteria. And then throughout the dating process, they realize, you know what, now I realize this other thing's important to me, or I wouldn't have expected to really like that guy, but he made me feel so safe. And they end up marrying someone that's outside of who they thought they would be with. So I realize it's what we want versus what we need. So maybe it's a different ethnicity, different body type, religion. Like, there's likely going to be something off in the picture that you have in your head and who you end up marrying.
Yeah. I think as a coach, my orientation is to always support my clients in whatever the hell they want. If they said, I want to only date an alien from Mars, I'm going to be like, let's go get that alien.
Yes.
So it felt counterintuitive to the way that I orient myself. That being said, it isn't to say, I think when you hear that as a single person, you hear you aren't going to get what you want.
Yes.
And that is not the messaging. The messaging is you'll get exactly what you want.
Right.
But what you can't possibly envision with such confidence what you're actually going to want when it comes down to it. Because connection is a feeling.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel the same way in matchmaking. Tell me your North Star. I want to know your ideal. I will aim for the ideal. I will give you the ideal. But is the ideal going to make you happy?
Yeah.
So then we start testing some other things. And you're not settling. This is in no way saying that you're settling. It's just when you're dating on your own, you're going for what's familiar. And until somebody presents somebody different, or maybe you meet someone at work that you didn't envision, but you fall in love with them.
It's hard to be open-minded to something that you don't have a vision for in your head. That doesn't feel like it's something that you've envisioned. Like, if you have a fantasy of something for so long, anything that deviates from that, it's hard for you to feel like there's any chance there unless you actually feel it.
Exactly. And that's really the key word. It's feel. So the advice is just to really pick up on how you feel around certain people, because there might be someone in your life right now that is your perfect match because they make you feel amazing and you love being around them, that you're discounting because they're not what you think, who you think you're going to end up with.
Yeah. This leads me to the question that I find myself mulling over, though. How can what you want and what you need be so different? So when I think about that question, the thing that I think about is there's some quote that's out there, and I'm going to butcher it, and this isn't even remotely close to what it says. But the sentiment is we often choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven.
Yes.
And so I think we have to differentiate what is comfort and safety versus what is actual security and safety. And when we keep going for comfort, that comfort might not actually be the thing that is best for us. So that might be what we want. It's like when you have that comfort food, like, you know, if you're sick and you are used to eating that comfort food that's not healthy for you or whatever, if you're in an emotional place and you go to that comfort food, it's yummy, but it's maybe not the best thing for you,
right?
You know? So I feel like it's similar emotionally with a partner. But the other part of it is I have realized in my line of doing this work that more often than not, we are projecting so much onto people. Like we project more onto them than what is actually true of them, because dating is so unique in that you are meeting this person and very quickly you're asked to make this big assumption of whether or not you want them in your life. Sometimes just one date, 1 hour.
Right. Yes.
So all you have to go off of are your own lenses that you've acquired throughout your life. So like in that instance in our past podcast where you talked about the client who said, I love New York so much. All she was saying is, I love New York. And what her date was hearing was she'll never leave New York. Right. She's going to stay in New York. So you believe these perceptions are truths. And then you decide really quickly based on that without actually staying curious to the person. So sometimes like it is what you want and what you need rolled into one, but you're not perceiving it in the same way, in the correct, accurate way.
And if you have this exact idea of who your person is going to be when you're on a date with someone and something is not quite right, you dismiss them so quickly. Like people are just absolutely judging too quickly on the apps, on the first dates. So just take a minute to see how that person makes you feel. And you might be surprised. And call me if this was not true for you, but likely you end up with someone outside of your comfort zone.
Timelines matter.
Yes. So this one, again, I've seen in my 15 years of matchmaking that if your timelines are wildly off, it won't work because one person will inevitably put pressure on the other, and the other person will resent them for that, and it'll implode. So your timelines need to be in the vicinity, like within a few years for it to work out. Like I've paired people that I was positive were perfect for each other, but their timelines were off, and I just watched this firsthand. And like in one example, I had this client and they dated for about a year, but he really was not ready for marriage yet. They were in their 20s, so he was not ready for marriage yet. She really was. She started introducing him to all these people, from her rabbi to like, this is weird, the gynecologist, like all these very weird people in her life. And he freaked out and broke up with her. Years later, cut to today, he just got engaged. Like he just was not ready for that step, and she very much was.
Yeah.
So I think that timeline, like within a few years. And so try to have those conversations early on. Definitely does not have to be on the first date, but within like a few months to understand if you're aligned.
Yeah. You also get a sense of that through people's actions. You know, like you can feel pretty early on if someone's not on the path to a relationship road, if they're just enjoying dating, if they're more casual. Usually can get a sense through their actions and how they navigate dating early on. But if you aren't picking that up, it's still important to have that conversation. But yeah, like I hate to say this, but love is not enough. Marriage and relationships are essentially a partnership, and you have to agree on a vision in that partnership for it to make sense.
Yeah. It's so much easier for us to do this as matchmakers because, I'm interviewing these people all the time, and they'll say, yes, I really want kids, but not right now. Like I want them in a few years. So like I'll know exactly the timeline to pair up. But if you don't have a matchmaker helping you, like you're going to have to navigate that to figure out, if you won't want children next year and they're not going to be ready for 10 years, are you willing to wait?
Yeah. Yeah. Next, universal truth. Laughter builds connection.
Amen.
Yes. This one I've agreed from day one.
Yeah. This is partially why we encourage people to keep the first dates light and fun, like to talk about things you're passionate about, art and music and culture, and like try to have some fun because laughter builds connection. If you are stuck on topics like politics, of course, that is important to have a discussion at some point, but it's very hard to build a romantic connection if you're having these deep conversations from the start. So the goal is to form a bond, and laughter is a pretty easy way to do that.
Yeah. For me, I agree with all of that. The one caveat I would say is know yourself. Like if it is a topic you can be lighthearted about, then feel free to bring it up. I believe like nothing is off limits realistically to talk about on a first date, as long as your intentions are good and your tone is lighthearted. So if you know that you can't talk about politics without getting pissed off, don't talk about politics.
For sure.
But if it's a source of banter for you and you just kind of want to like poke around it and you know that you can step back if you sense the other person's not engaging, by all means, But I do think that that's huge. And I might have said this before in a previous podcast, but I will never forget I was in graduate school and I had a couples therapist who was teaching a course on child and adult development. And one thing she said that like struck me like an arrow was the sign of a healthy adult is an adult who can play.
Yes.
And I always think about that. And I think that people feel that on a date. Like when you can play, it doesn't mean that you aren't taking dating seriously. It means that there is an ease to you, that you feel comfortable enough in the world, on the date with that person to play. Because we don't play if we don't feel safe.
Yeah. So I love that. And that's why we had an episode all about these fun challenges to do on a date. You can make this artificial. You can come with like a fun challenge just to try to bring some laughter and activities. People go and they'll do those like axe throwing dates. Like just try to do something where you can have fun.
Yeah. I feel like to be gender specific, women most often are saying, I want a guy who makes me laugh or a guy with a sense of humor. And men are often saying, I want a woman with a laid back personality who's just easygoing, which for me, I think what they're indicating is a sense of playfulness, lightheartedness. Yes. So I know that this is a top priority for most people.
Right.
Also, like self-assess yourself. Are you playful on a date? I think a lot of us need to work on that part.
Yeah.
Because we've lost it through pandemic and
100%. We actually had a client, she had a really tough time being playful on the dates. And she was serious. She was a doctor. So we gave her the homework of think about as a child, what are some things that brought you a lot of joy, and go try to do those things, like dance in your room, do some art. And so she had to relearn like how to have fun. And that was very helpful for her.
Yeah. I'm working with a couple men right now who are trying to access their more playful side. And it is so charming when even just the attempt of it, it feels like you allow yourself to be a little bit more free. There's something about it that's very liberating. Yeah. It is fun work teaching a client or helping them through that process to getting back to their playfulness.
Yeah, it'll help them so much in dating.
Yeah. Okay. Universal truth number whatever we're on. Yeah. Okay. Travel style matters.
This is so true.
Hot take. That's bold.
I definitely think this matters, especially if you're someone that enjoys traveling or you want to travel with your partner. But I think it also says a lot about the relationship in general. So if you're dating somebody for a few months, highly recommend going away for the weekend and just see like who's planning. Do you agree on the place to go? How does it feel to be with them? How, if something comes up and something goes awry, how do they react to it? So I think it's super important. I didn't even realize this one was that important until I was in a relationship for a few years, and he was a surfer, and all of our travel plans were around his surfing. So we would go to Mexico and sleep in his car, and he would bring a bucket because I don't know how to pee in the wilderness. So I'd have to pee in the bucket. And he would surf all morning and we'd go camping. All of our travel was around like his lifestyle, and it was fine. Then I met my husband and he took me to an actual hotel with a bathroom and I was all in. And
standards are low.
The standards are.
He took me to a place that had a bathroom and then I was like, yeah, I'll marry you.
For sure. Yeah, I nearly proposed to him.
Oh my God, that's insane.
And that made such a difference. But then when I really stopped to think about it, the first relationship, it was a lot about him. It was like an 80-20 relationship.
Like throughout the whole thing.
The whole thing. It was like indicative of the whole relationship. And then I met my husband and it was really 50-50. Where do you want to go? Where should we go? And we worked on those things together. So I feel like travel style says a lot about fun, like how do you like to travel, but also a lot about the relationship.
Yes, I could not agree with you more. I feel like even before you meet your person, you feel this with your friends. You know what friends you can travel with and what friends you can't travel with. Like, you know who is just a nightmare to go on a vacation with and who's like your person. So it does say something. It's almost like it's this really intensified micro moment where you get to see communication style, how they adjust to things, how they want to spend their free time, how they want to spend their money.
Completely.
Like that is kind of like a little window into how somebody would live if there were no restrictions to life.
For sure. Are you sightseeing? Are you going to museums? Are you laying at the pool? Like, what are you enjoying in your free time?
Totally. Yeah. I actually, when I was a matchmaker, used to ask this question of all the matches, like, what's your travel style? Because it would clue me into essentially like what they want to invest their time in. You know, are they strictly adventurous? Are they a little city, a little beach? Like, what's their vibe?
Yeah. Can you let go? Can you let somebody else plan? Do you need to be the planner? All of that. Fortunately, my husband's basically a travel agent. So I just show up and he does it all for me. But I wouldn't want to plan it. So I need somebody to do it for me.
My husband's like 60% there, but he needs the reassurance.
I'm like, I will show up whatever you plan.
Okay. Next one. Ooh, controversial. The longer you are single, the easier it is to stay single.
Yes. So this is, again, something that I've picked up on in the last 15 years. So when you are single for a long period of time, you become very independent. You're like a well-oiled machine. Everything works the way that you want it to. So it becomes a little bit harder to bring somebody into your life to disrupt the way that you do things, versus if you're meeting someone in your 20s, you're sort of like molding together and you are growing together. So you become one. But when you're dating later in life, it's just harder to fit the puzzle piece in. And so I find that the longer people are single, the higher the bar. Like, they have such amazing full lives that in order to bring somebody else into their life, they have to be additive, like a bonus. And so I just noticed the bar gets higher. And so the longer you're single, like the easier it is to stay single.
Yeah, that word, what you said, like they have to be an additive. I hear that a lot. Like, my life is full. So if someone's going to come into my life, they need to add to it. I'm not just dating to date. I hear a lot of that with my older clients. How do you... Is that like an issue in your mind that needs to be worked on? Is that just like a truth that is and that's okay? Like, how do you navigate that in matchmaking?
I don't think it's an issue. I think it's, if their goal is to find love, like, we're going to have to find them someone amazing to integrate into their life. And then they're going to have to make some compromises if they actually want to eventually live with that person. It kind of depends. They're all different relationships now. Like, some you spend more time with the person and some you don't. But if you want to bring somebody into your life, like, you're going to have to make some changes. However, we need to find you like the person that's worth it to make those changes for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is also true. And we've spoken about this before, but the longer you don't date, the easier it is to not date.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's very hard for people to get back on that horse after they haven't dated. So even if you haven't been in a relationship, like, still stay out there, still date, because once you lose that momentum, it's like school. Like, my parents always said this about school. You can take a gap year if you want, but just know it's going to be a lot harder to go back to school. Whereas if you are going like consistently, you are already in the flow, you know how to take tests, you know how to do all of that, So it's true of anything. Like, when you're in a momentum, you step back. It's not impossible to just dive back in, but you'll have you have to over effort a little bit in the beginning to get back in there. Yeah. Okay. I love this next one. First impressions matter.
Yes. I wish this wasn't the case. But when you show up on a date, the person is making a judgment within the first 7 to 30 seconds of meeting you. So you don't have a lot of time to make a first impression. First impressions really matter.
Yeah.
So this is why it's super important to have that pre-date ritual. So you show up on the date, you're like warm, best self, so that you can make a great first impression. If you show up straight from work and you're grumpy or, you're just like not in the best mindset, like that's your first impression. So show up as your authentic self, but also step it up a notch. Like make sure you listen to a fun song or you call your friend or you show up in a great mindset, and also show that you care. I hear this a lot in the post-date feedback from clients. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but I hear this sometimes in post-date feedback from clients where they will say, I really liked my date, but he showed up in sweats. So obviously he didn't care to be there. Or from the men, they'll say, she seemed great, but she showed up in athleisure to a dinner. That showed that she didn't put in any effort. So you can absolutely be casual if that's your vibe. I'm all about that. But just step it up a little bit so they know that you put in the effort.
Yeah. I actually think it's a beautiful thing that first impressions matter. Like it gives you this opportunity to be thoughtful about how you want to show up in the world. And while yes, it's hard to imagine that someone's judging you off of 7 to 30 seconds, there's this opportunity in that like we don't really think that often about how we are presenting ourselves to the world and being intentional about what do I want to say and how I dress today and how I do my hair and how I do my makeup. And a lot of that is like creative. A lot of that is tending to yourself, self-care, all of it. So sure, there's like a negative spin to it where it's like make it or break it.
Yeah.
That's not a saying, but I made it up, but whatever. But then there's this other side where it's like, make yourself feel nice, like for you, not for that person so that they receive you well, but just think about like, how do I want people to see me today? How do I want the world to view me today?
Yeah. I think it's just tough in dating because often you're showing up nervous. So to me, it's unfortunate that you only have like a minute, for that first impression. But that's why this whole prep time is so important to like get you there so that you can make the best first impression.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and even you can overcome it. It's not like if you make a bad first impression, like there's a chance that you will have a higher likelihood of success if you have a great first impression.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Okay. There is never a perfect time.
Yes, this so true. I see this a lot. People are not finding love because they're waiting for the perfect time. Like they're waiting for their children to go to college, or they're waiting till they lose 10 pounds, or they're waiting for some elective surgery they're doing. They're always pushing it.
Yeah.
And guess what? There will always be something. It's actually an excuse. You will always have an excuse. So even if it's not huge strides, but if you want a relationship, take those baby steps now, because the people who find love are brave enough to take those steps before they're ready. If you are always waiting, you will always wait. Like there just will never be a perfect time.
Yeah. And like we said, like the longer you wait, the harder it will become. So if you're waiting for all of those things to perfectly fall into place, it perfectly falls into place. And then why spend the energy dating when your life feels like it's right in place? There's so many reasons why you could talk yourself out of taking those first steps. But you're right. It's like a courage thing. Have the courage to kind of just get out there in whatever form you show up in.
Yes.
Understanding that you might have a limited bandwidth or you might not be 100% the best version of yourself.
Right.
But give yourself a shot.
Yeah. Like what happens? What's the worst thing that happens? Your kids are still at home and you meet somebody great. Like you will likely be able to navigate being in a relationship while your children are still home.
Yeah.
If there really is like a solid reason why you absolutely cannot date now, okay. But if it's something that you really want, you want to be in a relationship, just try now.
Yeah. And again, like it's intentional pausing. pausing with an intention, a clear goal, a clear date of when you're going to get back out there. But if you're just like, I'll do it when, you're having the case of like, I'll do it when, I'll be happy when, I'll look good when, you're just punting the ball.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. A few more. You have the power to make your dreams a reality.
Yeah. I know this is so cheesy, but it's so true.
I agree.
Yes. You really have the power. If you have a goal, if that's finding a relationship or really any goal, you have the power to make your dreams a reality. You're just going to have to be proactive about it, invest in yourself, and put in the time and effort. So no one's arriving on your doorstep. I hate to break it to you, but you're going to have to put some effort in. So in terms of relationships, hire someone if you really don't have the bandwidth. Absolutely. You can outsource to a matchmaker. We got you. We'll take care of it. Yeah. But you're going to have to be proactive and put yourself out there. And the great news is like you will meet your person. Like if you put it out to the universe and you are making these small changes, it absolutely will happen. But it likely won't if you don't try.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my coaching style is what is in your control and how do we work with that? Because dating there's a lot that's not within your control, but there's more that is.
Yes.
And I think we don't believe that all the time, especially when we're in a rut, but there is a lot that's in our control when it comes to dating. So let's continue to work with that because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
If you are proactive about it.
100%. You will. You will absolutely find your person. There is no doubt about it.
Yeah.
If you're taking the right steps.
Yeah. Okay. This is just good life advice in general, this next one, but you have to fill your cup first.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly believe in this. You need to take care of yourself first. You will show up in a much better way if your cup is overflowing. If you've had the self-care, you make yourself happy, then you can truly give the love. But if you're showing up depleted and empty, you likely won't end up in a relationship. The other person will feel your energy. You'll probably need something from them in order to feel that love. So do whatever you can to fill your cup first. And again, in life, it's very hard to be a mom when you're depleted, but if you fill your cup first, then it's so much easier to give the love.
Yeah. If you're at work and you haven't had a vacation in a year, you haven't given yourself a day off, you're going to be depleted at work. So yeah. And I think to your point, you don't want to date with these expectations of what someone can give to fill you up because you more often than not will end up disappointed and they more often than not will feel the pressure of that. Yeah. So you really want to be coming from a place of like, I'm good and I'm open to connection and I'm able to take that risk of what dating looks like, which could come with hurt, rejection, those stings.
Right.
Because I feel so full in other ways.
Exactly. Yeah. You show up in way more confident when you have all these other things that make you happy in life. This isn't the only thing that's going to make you happy. You have a fulfilled life because you took care of yourself.
It's that balance though. It's like, and you're still open to connection despite being full,
For sure. Yeah. It just makes the connection like more equal. Like you don't need them to be whole.
Yeah. But you get to have them.
Yeah. Bonus.
Yeah. There it is. You heard it here first. Those are the undeniable universal truths of dating.
Yes.
Even if you don't believe them now, you will one day.
Yeah.
Because
for any and all.
Evidence points to all those directions as much as I fought it.
Just telling you what I've seen of the thousands of happy couples over the years.
Yeah. And again, it crosses like time, dating apps, no dating apps, gender, age. It's true within all of those.
Exactly. It's universal.
Yeah. There we go. I guess that's why they call it that.
Okay, let us know if we forgot any, but those are the ones that are top of mind. So thank you all for joining this episode of You Seem Great. If you have any comments, questions, message us at You Seem Great Podcast on social media. Until next time.
Bye.
Thank you for joining today's episode of You Seem Great. You can find specifics of the episode in our show notes.
Want more? Follow us at You Seem Great Podcast on social media. Dating is hard. We're here to help.